Here comes something new.
Hello, I'm joined by Ian Dransfield, who's been down in London playing Dissidia Final Fantasy NT. First off, mate, how are you doing today?
I'm not bad. I slept quite well for once.
Good. And what's the game like then?
The game is really good fun, actually. It's a 3-on-3 fighting game with a bunch of different Final Fantasy characters from across the entire series.
Oh, wow.
Who just go into big arenas and batter each other.
It's cool. So is it got quite a complex battle system, or is it kind of like just mash the buttons? Because it's Team Ninja developed.
Team Ninja, yeah.
Yeah. So how is the combat itself?
Well, when you first get into it, I think complex is a word, but probably more overwhelming, because there's so much stuff going on the screen, so many lines popping out to your character from your character, and little displays, and you have all of the information on the screen, not just for your team, but for the opposition team as well.
Yeah.
So you know everything about all the health status of yourself and your teammates, the health status of the opposition, what summons they're trying to use, what powers they currently have active, and so on. Everything that is going on is presented to you, and initially at least that is just quite massively overwhelming, but after maybe half an hour or so of playing it, it just kind of, well, it makes sense. You need to know all this stuff at all times. So the overwhelming element kind of fades away into one where it's like, yeah, that I can see why they've done all that, even if it is a bit too much at first.
Yeah, of course. So when you start, is there any kind of things you have to choose between? Like, is there any classes, or is it just about characters?
Well, the characters themselves fall into 3 different character classes,
right?
They are vanguards, which are kind of like your tanks, your power attackers.
Yes.
Your assassins. Sorry, no, there's 4. There's 4. There's your vanguards, which are tanks. There's assassins, which are like quick moving and running and can do backstabs and things. And there's marksmen, which, self-explanatory. And there is specialists, which kind of are, well, they specialize in something, so they're just different from the other 3. So individual characters are those things. So like, I think Cloud from Final Fantasy VII is a vanguard, as is Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII, I believe. What's his face? Kuja from Final Fantasy VI, the guy who blows up the world. Spoiler. He is a specialist, I believe, because his character is all over the place. Nobody really understood how to use him in the session we played. But once you've chosen your character, you obviously for your team you want to get a good balance of your different combat classes, and then you choose a kind of It's almost kind of a loadout of your special moves. So you've got like essentially your limit break, your super special, and then some other just magic attacks that are lesser specials. And then once you've chosen that, as a team, you have to choose your team's summon. So that's just a straightforward voting system. Whichever of the summons gets the most votes, it becomes your special power for the match, special team power for the match, and that's a selection of the different summons again from Final Fantasy's history. So it's layered, and it's, again, one of those things where it may be a little bit overwhelming at first. Yeah,
of course. And does it follow, like, typical fighter kind of characteristics? Like, the stages themselves, are they like 3D kind of battle arenas, and are there different layers, like, say, in Injustice, where you can go from one to another and then to another? Is it quite kind of linear? Like, how does it fit in amongst these kind of fighting, like the standard kind of the Tekkens and the Street Fighters and the Injustices?
It's not the same as those. It's what springs to mind when I was playing it was actually Power Stone, if you remember that.
Yeah.
It's an arena. It's a 3D arena with multiple levels and stuff. Now, when I say Power Stone, I don't mean you can be picking up lampposts and hitting each other with them. Just that it's an open 3D arena in which teams brawl against each other. Different arenas, different shapes and sizes, different levels on them. Ones where you actually find there's So I'm just kind of remembering it as I go along. There's a dash function in it that isn't just like a quick jink to the left or right. It's something that you hold and you fly along, and you can do this in midair as well.
Yeah.
and you have a meter that drains as you're doing it. So you can be jumping up in the air really high and having these aerial battles with each other that are just look ridiculous and so much fun. And certain levels lend themselves more to that kind of thing. Certain levels very much ground-based, and then there's ones where you're running up walls and jumping off them and smacking each other in the face. But it doesn't... I wouldn't say it really compares to the likes of Tekken and Injustice and so on, because it is... it's not just... it's not really the same as those.
Yeah. It sounds a bit like have you ever played the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm
games?
Yes,
that's exactly what it's like. That was the one I was trying to think of. And
it's
like the Naruto ones, but with, dare I say, more kind of strategy to it, and less just, waiting until you can press a button to make something big happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you can press buttons to make something big happen, but the defining example, I suppose, from my time with it was using the summons. So to use a summon, you have to hold in, and we were playing it on the PS4, which is, well, what it's coming out on. Makes sense. You have to hold the touchpad button in to start your summon. That starts filling up a summon bar in the bottom middle of your screen.
Okay.
Now, the opposition gets a thing flashing on their screen saying, the opponents are trying to summon, so obviously they'll try and stop you. If all three of your characters on your team are holding the button at the same time, the summon meter fills a lot faster. But if all three characters on your team, if you do a countdown and you are like a well-oiled machine and you all press the summon button at exactly the same time, you will get an instant summon.
Oh, wow.
So it's little things like that that are kind of a tactical edge to it and encourage actual team play rather than just flying around on your own, battering each other.
Well, that was kind of going to be my final question about like teamwork. I wondered what kind of elements of that there would be, and whether it was just you just go into a fight and you all just batter each other, or do you actually have to work together to some point? So,
well, not just the summons. I mean, I experienced kind of both ends of it, of just mucking about by myself and seeing what could be achieved, and sometimes that was fine. I mean, I remember the opposition team when we were playing, one of the guys was playing as Ramza from Final Fantasy Tactics, and he was just beating the crap out of all of us by himself. But then there were other times where we were actually working together with these different combat classes, and having someone picking him off from afar as a marksman, then having someone dash up behind as an assassin, then I was the guy whose name I've completely forgotten from an early Final Fantasy, who's this gigantic tank of a soldier who's just absolutely leathering them. And that was kind of because the other guys were flying around and almost like how dolphins hunt. Circling around them to force them into the middle, and then I was just absolutely hammering. So it is a game that lends itself to a lot of tactical play, a lot of teamwork-based play, which really surprised me considering just how busy everything looks and just how complicated it looks from the start. But as I say, like once you've played it for a while, that complexity shows itself to be necessary, because when you know everything, you can work better as a team. So it all comes together quite nicely. Yeah, I mean, it sounds really quite a lot of fun. And obviously you can check that out when it comes out in January 30th, 2018. So not long to wait, guys. So thank you all for listening. You can watch this video over and over again to your heart's content. And thank you for joining me. Ian, talk to me about it. No problem. Thank you for having me.
No worries. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.